Keycode Media 20 years, and there's been no company, and more specifically, no boss, manager, or owner that I've enjoyed working with more than Mike Kavanaugh.
Keycode Media has been such a powerhouse partner for Avid since their very beginning. So much energy, enthusiasm, creativity has always shined through everything that they've done with us together.
Congratulations to Keycode Media. Thank you so much for the amazing service your team provides to our industry.
It's a humbling accomplishment to celebrate Keycode Media's 20th year in business. We opened our reseller business in 2001 with a small but talented staff dedicated to providing exceptional post-production workflow solutions in the media and entertainment industry.
You've put together a marvelous team at Keycode, a resource that we use exclusively to create our remote center, which has been a tremendous success.
Think about all the amazing change our teams have been through together, from going digital and going to the cloud to working remotely. I know we couldn't do a lot of that without Keycode Media.
The entire Keycode team, amazing impact.
All right, everybody, if you want to start making your way inside, we're going to get started right now. Come on inside. We're going to get started with our presentation.
Being partners with you has been incredibly rewarding.
Keycode Media expanded our products and services with live production and system integrations, from TV studio builds to unique cloud hybrid post-production.
It's been just a pleasure to see the growth now with multiple offices all over the country, and the impact that and the staying power that Keycode has.
The take of Keycodes, the perspective that Mike has been willing to share with us, has really been a critical element of some of the kind of resale channel decisions that we've made and product decisions.
Keycode Media created Keycode Education, an online and on-site school, to educate our clients on the products and technology they need to be successful.
They're really big on letting clients get hands-on with the technology, and the level of detail provided by Keycode is second to none. Whether it's cable running, installing our server, or anything else, it's always such a pleasure to work with the Keycode team.
The company further grew the business into C7, C10 certified structured cabling services, expanding our capabilities in public work and large AV projects.
Thank you, Mike, for helping us through the years and for believing in us. We wouldn't be where we are today. So thank you, Mike. Thank you, Keycode.
Fast forward to today. Keycode Media is a one-stop solution provider for all AV, broadcast, and post-production, equipment design, install, systems integration, and training, backed by a 24/7 engineering team. I'd like to thank our 7,000 plus clients and 400 plus vendors and 100 plus employees that have made a commitment to our collective success.
To all of you at Keycode, thanks again for being a great partner, and congratulations on your 20 years.
Really appreciate you and wish you continued success over the next 20 years.
Keycode Media 20 years, and there's been no company, and more specifically, no boss, manager, or owner that I've enjoyed working with more than Mike Kavanaugh.
Keycode Media has been such a powerhouse partner for Avid since their very beginning. So much energy, enthusiasm, creativity has always shined through everything that they've done with us together.
Congratulations to Keycode Media. Thank you so much for the amazing service your team provides to our industry.
It's a humbling accomplishment to celebrate Keycode Media's 20th year in business. We opened our reseller business in 2001 with a small but talented staff dedicated to providing exceptional post-production workflow solutions in the media and entertainment industry.
You've put together a marvelous team at Keycode, a resource that we use exclusively to create our remote center, which has been a tremendous success.
Think about all the amazing change our teams have been through together, from going digital and going to the cloud to working remotely. I know we couldn't do a lot of that without KeyCode Media.
The entire KeyCode team, amazing impact on the media and entertainment industry.
Always been a pleasure to work with you guys, and I know your clients are always in great hands. Watching you guys grow and being partners with you has been incredibly rewarding.
KeyCode Media expanded our products and services with live production and system integrations, from TV studio builds to unique cloud hybrid post-production.
It's been just a pleasure to see the growth now with multiple offices all over the country.
All right, everybody, clap once if you hear me. 1, 2, 3, clap. Woo! All right, thank you everyone for coming out to Avid Media Composer Post-Production, this edition of Editor's Lounge. Just to kick it off, we're going to give you a quick 2 cents about who KeyCode Education is and who KeyCode Media is. So starting with the Chief Education Officer, Jonathan Amayo.
Hey everyone. Thank you for coming. In case you don't know what KeyCode Education is, it is the largest vocational school for post-production production. We have recently expanded into asynchronous, subscription-based training, and more importantly, we've expanded into high schools and colleges. We now create custom courseware. We have a teacher here today who's teaching at Morningside High School in Inglewood for us, Resolve class. So we are everywhere, and more importantly, we've just launched an apprenticeship, federal, state, approved, $30,000 worth of training, 2,000 hours, guaranteed work, employment for post-engineering. Super exciting for us. So it's been a huge year, and I'm super excited. If you have anyone interested, let us know. Come to our website, because we are taking applications now for the apprenticeship.
All right, thank you so much. Well, before we get too far, I just want to point out the post-production. Well, no, I'm going to start off with thanking our sponsors. We have Avid here. Everyone give a round of applause for Avid. They make Avid Media Composer, Avid Pro Tools. If you are trying to be in the professional creative space, you need to know Avid, and most of you already know that. We also have Periphery here. That might be a newer company to you. They are doing some amazing things with AI, with storage in the cloud. Please, 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 at the end of the presentation, spend some time with them. They got some amazing stuff going on. AI. Did I say AI? A lot of AI stuff. Yeah. All right. This is our friends over at Blue Collar Post, Katie Hinson. She's doing the post-production survey. Big shout out, Blue Collar Post. Woo! Yeah, so they do this survey every year. They're trying to get a sense of what you're getting paid, what everyone's getting paid, what kind of work you're doing, everything. And they're giving that feedback back to the studios and the greater community. It's a great thing, so hold up your phone, give it a quick scan. It is anonymous, so yeah. And it's a great way for us to get a sense of where we are in the industry, and it's been really helpful for everyone. So moving on to KeyCode Media. So KeyCode Media has been around for 20 years. AV, broadcasts, post-production. We're a systems integrator and reseller. Well, what does that mean? I never learned what a systems integrator is in college. Well, systems integrator will design, build, install solutions and support for businesses. And so when it comes to things like audiovisual, it can be classrooms, it's your lecture halls, it's all that AV systems plugging things in like your Microsoft Team, and just it seamlessly works within the room, and also people at home. That's AV, and that's what we do on that side. On the broadcast side, it's sports stadiums, it's control rooms, it's all those screens and turn to that graphic and that and this and whatever. So we do all that as well, including some of the top partners here. We sell their products, we install their products, and we support them with our certified engineers. And then lastly, why you are all here, post-production. Yay for post-production, woo! And this is everything from ingest to distribution to archive and storage to remote editorial. And we support not just these 9 partners, but we are the #1 Avid reseller in the world. But we also install systems, across the country. We have 10 locations. Couple of highlights. This is Hula Post, right down the street, rental house. A lot of you might have edited there at some point. Woo, Hula Post! And we did things like edit suites, finish suites, audio suites, and we're constantly helping them refresh their equipment. Here's another rental house, Gold Tree Studios. Same thing. Edit bays, color suites, getting that Atmos mix in the room. Our engineers are the type of people who go there and help you build out a facility from start to finish and also support it long term, so you don't have to hang on the phone, wait for that manufacturer to call you back at some point. All right, and I think, am I early? Am I okay? Oh, I'm a little bit early. Okay, why don't we take a 1 minute break? Or actually, Mike Kavanaugh, do you want to come up and say a few words? This is Mike Kavanaugh. He is the president of KeyCode Media. You got 2 minutes.
Thanks a lot for being here. When Terrence Kern said, hey, I'm retiring, I'm going to be walking around Louisiana quite a lot, and what do you think about what to do with the Editor's Lounge? And I said, let's maintain it as really a user-friendly, centric learning establishment. Let's leverage it with our school, which we're actually a post-secondary certificate program. So we have ETP, so if you're working for a company that needs that, you can literally get free training. And really just a collaborate level within the community to maintain, the networking, the relationship, the taco truck, and the education, and the booze. So once again, we really appreciate your support, and we're glad to be part of the community, being able to contribute and help you stay up to date. I think tonight will blow you away with what Avid's been doing with AI. It's really, really slick. So 2 minutes, I'm off.
All right. Okay. So as I mentioned, first up, we're going to have Avid here going over the latest and greatest in Media Composer, and then we have a phenomenal post-production panel talking about the craft, talking about finding that next gig, all those kind of great things that you guys are interested in learning about. We're also live streaming tonight, and I think you guys might all have the link as well, so if you want to forward that to a few people, share the link online. It should be in your reminder emails. Would love that. We're going to be taking questions from that audience online. So with that, let's get started with Michael Krulik at Avid.
Thank you. Oh, intro video.
Art, culture, and creativity. They define our past, our present, and our future. Our most memorable moments are made with you. Your ingenuity informs, inspires, and unites us. Your work moves us forward, so we work to keep you creating. At Avid, we champion the art of song and the skills of storytelling, driven by imagination, productivity, and reliability. Realizing technology unites individuals and empowers collaboration, fostering community where thousands of creators connect and share. Inspiring students, educators, and artists to thrive. The challenges we face, we solve together. Avid has your back, innovating so you can reach new heights. Whether you are one or many, we only have one goal: to maximize your creative process. Every minute, every day, we are powering greater creators.
All right, there's our little lead in. Thank you all for joining tonight. Enjoy the taco truck and the drinks. We will have some Q&A here as well, but I do have a lot of stuff I want to show you. I'm actually going to show you the beta software for the release that's coming out in December. So a couple of new things there. So just curious, out of show of hands, who is currently actually working on Avid Media Composer? Great. Anybody who is not? And be honest, it's okay. All right. So I have some little tools there that I think will help you as well. So the nice thing is, it's all about the tools that you use and how to use it. Of course, Avid has been out there for over 35 years. Is it 35? So it's been built by editors for editors, great with collaboration. Welcome to my little edit bay here. Unfortunately, I'm just on a laptop, but you can edit on a laptop. So PC, Mac. There are editors that actually will take laptops to set and actually show a cut to the director and then go to their big edit bay with their bin monitor and their edit monitor. So you basically can choose the way that you work. But what I want to point out initially, oh, that's interesting. Maybe that's why the system is not showing me my find window, because we should be mirroring my laptop. Is that something that is done on your end? I thought we tested this. But no, you're showing, this is now a 2-monitor setup. So is that something that is on your end or my end? There it is. We had tested this before. There you are. That's what I want. I was wondering why something wasn't working earlier. So let me start again. No, just kidding. So I am working off of a single laptop. What you were seeing was actually my second monitor. Again, you can have a bin monitor and edit monitor. I am working off of a single display. But what you're seeing here is a new, I wouldn't say a new look, but you'll notice that your composer window with source record is floating, the timeline is floating, your bins are floating. Bless you. In the latest release of Avid Media Composer, we've introduced a new profile. So just out of curiosity as well, we changed the UI in 2019. We changed it with bin locking, or the bin containers, and your panels can be docked and locked. Who is using the newer versions of Avid Media Composer? All right. Thank you for making that jump. Who has not transitioned yet to the new version of Avid Media Composer? Don't be shy, all right? So what I want to show you is when you go and create a new user profile, you'll see here that when you are creating a new user, this is the way that you set up your keyboard, your windows, anything that you want are customized, because as you start editing and working, you may not use a mouse. You might just be using the keyboard to actually function. So I'm going to go in and create a new user. And what I want to point out is we have different settings now for a user profile. How do you want to work? We have standard Media Composer, which basically is the 2019, where you have initially all of your panels are docked and locked to a canvas or a tray. You can pull that off and you can customize it. Transitioning from Adobe Premiere. So if you're using Adobe, there you are. Was that a laugh or was that a cheer? I'll actually show you what that does. So exactly. So the idea is we know that there are people using other NLEs, other editing software, and they look at Avid and they're like, we don't know how to use that. But I tell everyone, if you know source, record, ins, outs, timeline, you basically know how to use an editing system. It's just getting past some of the other stuff. So first I want to show you transitioning from Adobe Premiere Pro. And what that does is I'm going to call my new profile PP Mike. And what happens is the entire UI and layout changes to mimic Adobe Premiere Pro. So it is Media Composer, but again, it's just the layout. It's your source record is large on the top. You have your timeline. You have all of your media management down here. And when you go to your settings, you'll see that the keyboard is a Premiere Pro default keyboard. We want you to embrace Avid Media Composer. We want you to easily transition from Adobe Premiere to Media Composer. Again, it's the tools that you use. If you want to, if you're going to a lot of television shows or studios here in LA, you will find that knowing Media Composer is a good thing to know. So we want you to do that. And another thing you may notice is when you are going to your settings, if you're using Resolve, we also have a default Resolve keyboard as well. So again, we want to bring in people using other NLEs. Now the other option when you are creating a new user profile is Media Composer Classic. It's like a classic car, right? Basically, what we're doing is we're saying if you choose Classic, it's going to float your bins. It's going to float your composer window and your timeline just like you had originally with version 2018 and earlier. So what you'll see is I already have one created, so I'm going to change my profile to go back to Classic MK. You'll see everything is now going to change, so everything is now floating as designed, or as I want. Again, it's all customizing the way you want to work, which is the best thing about working with Media Composer. You'll also notice in between your source record, if you remember those 6 buttons, bless you, that went away, they're actually back. I mean, the buttons were still there, you just had to map them. So now we brought back those 6 buttons with the splice in, the tool palette, overwrite, source record, trim, and effects. So those are all brought back right here. So again, it's those little things. We want to make it comfortable for people, whether you're starting off with a new version, whether you are coming from a Media Composer Classic, or you're coming from Adobe Premiere. Okay? So let's take a look at a few other things here. Now I'm gonna dive into a few things that you may not know that the software did if you are using it, just as you're working. Now these are all workspaces, and the workspaces are actually set up to actually view, a different workspace for editing, color, effects, audio. As you customize new workspaces, which are just the layout of your UI, you can customize it, you can map it to a key, so things will change as you work. But one thing I want to point out, which is interesting, is people start moving between these workspaces, is how do you want the UI to react? And by going into the user settings here again in the interface, I just want to point out something that a lot of people didn't know. In the lower left-hand corner, when moving to a workspace, do I want to load the last known state or the last saved state? So this is interesting. A lot of people are like, when I go in between the workspaces, it doesn't go back to the way that I wanted it, the way that I saved it. That's because the setting might be changed. So if you find that's happening, please go in and check when moving to a workspace, how is that reacting? The last known state is the last state that it was. But the last saved state is when you save a workspace and layout, it'll actually go back to that. Just something that I like to point out every now and then. Okay? Let's take a look at some other functions and features in the latest release. And again, this is a beta version that I will show you some other things that are available or will be available. But as assistants are working, or as people are working with different media, how many times have you gone in to subclip different clips, but every time you create a subclip, it's each one individually? We've built in a new batch subclip creation tool. So if I take a look at these clips right here, and if you didn't know, if you hold down Alt or Option, it actually brings up these little sub-monitor windows. So you still have other little source windows where you can actually bring these up if you'd like. Just again, some really fun things. But you'll see that each of these clips have mark ins and outs on them. Another fun thing I'd like to bring up every now and then, because again, Media Composer was designed by editors for editors. Does anyone, I'm sure somebody here knows, why the mark in and out are shaped like that? Yes. All right. If you didn't know this, it's a thumbnail. Because in the days of film editing, you grabbed your strip of film, you said, here's the in point, here's the out point. I see some surprised faces, but yes, those are thumbnails to mimic film editing. So a little bit of trivia. So now I have these little marks where I have my in and out for these clips. I can now go in and select all of them, right click, and you'll see batch create subclips. In this window here, this is actually letting me choose, do I want to create a subclip of the entire clip? Which sometimes, depending on the workflow, you may want to do. If you don't want to affect the original clip, a lot of assistants or a lot of editors will just subclip the entire clip. And you'll also see here, including tracks. If these clips had audio, you could actually choose which audio track you also want to have subclipped with it. So you can define all of that. Plus, you can go in and retain your marks or retain markers. So if there are markers in there, that will actually have those applied. But now if I just say I want to use based on marks, hit OK, I just subclipped all of those clips automatically. And I can even take these clips now. If you didn't know this, you'll see here that my dsubs bin is closed. We can now take clips from a bin and drag and drop them to a closed bin. There was a little clap. So again, these little things that help with the process. I don't have to open up the bin and then drag it. You can actually drag things to a closed bin. All right. Let's jump into some new technology that we also added. I mean, Mike mentioned AI. Is anybody AI? That's a term I hear a lot these days, right? So something that we've done is we've taken some great technologies. Does anybody use script sync or script-based editing? So we've actually added to that. We've actually changed our technology in the way that we work with ScriptSync and PhraseFind. We've added AI to the name of it. But beyond that, we've actually built in an AI-powered engine that actually will allow for a lot more technology to be applied to it. So we do have the traditional way of course, going in. This is actually a scene from the Orville that somebody nicely went in. Of course, the team went in and actually used ScriptSync and script-based editing to go and mark this up. Interesting, this scene only has one word said in the entire thing. All the rest of this is just visual effects, but they actually used it with script-based editing to go in and at least mark that up. And if you haven't seen this, like you'll see here that he says Isaac right here. Did you know that you can actually, grab those marks, and when you hit play, it'll go and start playing, and you can tab to each different take. We should be hearing this, if the audio can be brought up.
Isaac?
There you go.
Isaac!
So hitting tab will now let you take
Isaac!
and listen to every run of that. So that's really great for, the director or for anybody who's editing. Listen to every take once it's in there. All right? Now this is with the script. You import the script, the text file, into Avid Media Composer, and you line it manually or using ScriptSync to automatically go in and sync it by the audio. But something that we've done recently in the latest release is we added a preview of ScriptSync AI. Ooh. Now watch what this does. So we have some media. I have some great interviews of some editors talking about what they like about editing, how they got their start. So here we have Susan Vale, the editor of Hacks. I'm going to go in and right-click on Susan's clip, and there's an option. I can't zoom in and show it, I don't think. Nope. So yeah, create script from clip has gone in and created a transcription of that clip. A transcription. Now what's really great about this, now it does have to process. The reason why it came up so fast is because I've done this several times. But once the transcription is done, it takes like maybe a few minutes for 10 minutes of video maybe. And what this now has is her entire interview, and each little mark here is every sentence that was being said. Automatically. This is also not going to the cloud for the transcription. This is all happening local to your system. Okay? So if I want to go to the part where she says, and so eventually I realized I was always using those commands together, I simply double click right here, and it takes me to
open the scene bin. And so I eventually realized I was always using those two commands together. And so those were, I think, the first two.
Okay. So it actually will take you to that dialogue. And if you didn't know this, and this is something that's been in the software for years with script-based editing, is I'm going to start off with a blank timeline. We'll just clear this out. And you can start editing from a script or a transcript into your sequence. All you're going to do is hold down a modifier. So I'm going to start off with, let's say, but I was a twin, and my sister and I did commercials. So if I hold down a modifier, which is Control-Alt on a PC, Command-Alt or Option on a Mac, I double-click. That's my first edit. Right now, it's at the end of that edit. I can go to another one. Let's go to, and so Avid is definitely my language of choice. Well, let's add that one. So I hold down the modifiers, double-click. That's edit number 2. So you'll see that I can now put together a rough cut.
Commercials when we were kids. And
I don't know why there's a delay here. That's really weird.
Sister and I did commercials when we were kids, and we even did a double commercial. And so Avid is definitely.
So you can see there's a cut right from that point. So being able to do that from the timeline is huge. Now, a little feature that will be added to the next release that I can show you is I'm going to right-click on Susan's clip again, I'm going to choose Export Transcript. No one else has seen this yet. I know we're live. Don't tell anyone. But it will be in the software where if I say Export Transcript, let's go ahead and put it on the desktop. I'll call it, type in Susan. She did do it, I think, because I had it done before. Let me export Susan 1. What happens is it's going to actually create an export of that transcript with timecode. Yay! All right. So really, really cool there. So if I went to any of those time codes, that would be exactly where that line is. So again, this technology with the AI power that we're adding into Media Composer is going to let us do a lot more advancing really, really quickly. It's our own technology. Now, as far as the transcript, what about if you have different languages? Watch this. So I have a clip here that is actual multiple languages. So if I want to go in and look at that same clip, right click and say create script from clip. Look at that. Ooh. We support 21 languages that it goes in and actually will create the transcript from that. Awesome. I see a question. Will it recognize multiple speakers? We're looking into that. Again, once we started developing all of this, there were a lot of, things that we'll be following, definitely. Yes, another question? Excuse me, I'm sorry? Does it do camera time code on the transcription? I don't know yet. I think right now it's just source time code from the clips itself. But again, this is something that's still being developed, so potential changes there. And one more question, and I'll keep going. And another feature request that hopefully will follow, the question was about, will it translate the transcription as well? So we're looking into that. And one more question. Want to see this? Oh, good question. Let's see. So if I click on this right here, whoops, right click, export transcript, call it multi. There it is. You're seeing it live at the Editor's Lounge. All right. Now let's take this a step further. ScriptSync AI is the new name of it. You'll see under ScriptSync. ScriptSync AI is the option. And then we have Phrase Find. Phrase Find will actually go in and let you type in a word or phrase, and it will find any clip where somebody has said that word or phrase. So Command F on a PC, Command F on a Mac, Control F on a PC. And you'll see here in this window on the far right side, Phrase Find AI will come up when I type in, I want to find out where somebody's saying the word helpful. So type in helpful. If you've used has anyone used Phrase Find before? A couple people? You used to have to download a language pack to actually be able to search. You'll notice that that language is not selected here anymore because it knows what the language is. So now if I type in helpful and I hit Phrase Find AI, it found 132 instances where it thinks somebody said the word helpful in all of my media in the project. And the nice thing about the AI part of Phrase Find is you get a new transcription column. We can actually see where the word is in context to the sentence that's being said. because again, 130, 1,000, instances, however many. If I want to go to the part where Jeff Ford, the editor of a lot of Marvel films, says the tracking tools are easy to use and incredibly helpful. Double click, takes you right to Jeffrey saying.
And incredibly helpful. We do a lot of reshooting.
So again, a really great tool. ScriptSync AI and PhraseFind AI are part of Media Composer Ultimate and Media Composer Enterprise, or an option if you just have Media Composer. So some really, really great functions there. Some other things to point out are, any questions, by the way? One more question? Anyone? Move on? Yes. The question was, would there be a way that once you did the phrase find, if you could go in and create subclips of everything that you found? Great feature request. We will make note of that. But right now, you would actually double click to bring up each instance separately. One more. I keep on saying one more, right? Any option to show thumbnails in the phrase find window? That's funny. I was wondering if there actually was one there, but I guess there's not. Let's see if there's frame count, frame rate. Again, good feature request. We will make note of that. Well, save your questions. I'm sure we'll have some more time after this, and if not, we'll follow up. But let me go ahead and just keep going through here. The next function that I want to show you that was added in 2023.8 is if you've ever used the sequence templates. A sequence template, typically when you're starting a new sequence, it's 1 track of video and 2 tracks of audio, right? If you go to your settings and look at the sequence template, which is right here, you'll see that you could go in and actually build a template to your liking. So you could actually create something with however many video tracks and audio tracks. The audio could be stereo, 5.1, 7.1, and you could even name them if you want. You'll see sound effects, nat sound, music, dialogue. So you can go in and create these templates, but the nice thing about that is once these are created, you can create these at any time. You'll see that I brought up a sequence that already had it. So if I go into, let me remove some of the information here. Actually, I'll go ahead and select. Let's go back here. There we are. So this sequence currently does not have all those extra tracks added to it. But let's say for a deliverable, whoever you're sending it to, whatever streaming service, they require a certain amount of tracks, certain naming, or just a way to be able to control and see what's happening. So I can go in and right-click on the timeline, and you'll see Apply Sequence Template. You could choose the template and watch what happens to the left side of the timeline as it now has gone in and updated the timeline to reflect my new changes. But yet it doesn't change your timeline. It's not going to affect what you've done. It's just adding on those extra elements so you now have something that you're not going to have to re-import a sequence and recopy all that stuff back in. It's taking out those extra steps for you, which is great. All right. Also, if you have, let's see if I have markers. I think I do in right here. A lot of markers here for this sequence of the Orville. One thing that we added recently, if you go to your marker window, is a creation date. How many times have you had markers that keep being added during the course of production, and you don't know which ones are the most recent ones? Now you can go in and just say, I want to sync, click on creation date, and actually will sort them newest to oldest or whatever you like. Again, all these little features and functions are really nice. And we also have things added to the audio side of the world. So if I go to my audio mixer, you now can go in and change the clip gain of audio to go above 12 dB. I know, right? I actually had somebody come up to me at a trade show recently. He's like, the best thing about the new software is I can go higher than 12 dB for audio. Now, it's very important to note here that the fader, I'm not an audio person, fader, only goes up to 12, and this is by design. So if I click on the value down here and type in 25, you'll see that you can actually type in values higher. That's because we don't want everyone to keep moving the fader up, making it really high and blowing out, your ears or anything. We want to have that to be a more conscious level change to the audio. And also you'll see that it changes to a very bright yellow, so you know that it's instantly higher than 12 dB as well. Right? Can everyone see that? So again, another nice feature, and that's not just in the mixer also. You'll see if you go and add in the audio, there's a lot of sound design here in this sequence, which is really great. If you turn on clip gain on your tracks, you can come in here and type in to be higher than 12 dB as well. So again, some nice functions. If you didn't know this also, and again, little tips and tricks I like to talk about every now and then, the fast menu in the audio mixer, you can now map any of these functions to a key. So things like, removing clip gain, adjusting clip gain, setting pan, map it to a key. All right. Let's get into some other, the multi-mix. We've introduced in 2022.12 being able to export a Pro Tools session. Is that me? Oh, sorry. A Pro Tools session from Media Composer Ultimate and Media Composer Enterprise. Nice. And Christopher actually has it working over on the Pro Tools side as well there. But what I can show you is, if you go to export, you'll see that the options now provide the ability to choose a Pro Tools session directly from Avid Media Composer. And it actually creates a .ptx file with video and audio in one. Nice, yeah. So what you'll see here is, you have your Pro Tools session, you have 2 tabs for video details and audio details, but what's really cool also is markers. Because if you have markers in your sequence, these markers will be seen in Pro Tools. You will have them. You could actually, if you color code them, you can actually choose which markers you want to have built into the PTX file. You'll see here for video, we can export a video mixdown. We can link to audio. If you're on Nexus and you have Pro Tools and Media Composer on the same setup, you can just link to the media. You don't have to do an export. Or you can pack and go. You can consolidate it. But I'm going to say just do a video mixdown. You can choose MOV or MXF, DNX, DNxHR, Apple ProRes. If you didn't know this, in recent versions of Media Composer on a PC, you can export ProRes media. Okay. Choose your compression, choose your raster size, and on the audio side, again, copy, link, or consolidate. If you do have media that's already been created from a previous sequence, there is a button that says ask to exclude audio media from the previous sequence. So it's not duplicating media every time you do a Pro Tools session export. Plus, we've added being able to do a multi-mix. If anybody has seen this before, the multi-mix tool in Media Composer was added years ago, but that was only for mixdowns. The idea of the multi-mix is you can actually set up multiple mixes of your audio, so you're not having to do multiple passes one after the other. I need 2 stereo pairs of this and a 5.1 of this. Build it into the single multi-mix window. You can say I want to add, I want these to be a 5.1, adding that, saving it, and now this mix is actually put into the Pro Tools session as well. So the PTX file is created, you double click on that or you open it up in Pro Tools, all of the tracks come in, you get a video track in Pro Tools with the mixed down clip, you get a cut track, Even though it's a single clip of video, the cut track in Pro Tools will take you to every cut in the sequence for reference automatically. Ah. And you also get a rendered folder track, an unrendered folder track, and a rendered only folder track of audio. So Audio Suite plugins, keyframing, audio ducking, all of that stuff is brought over into the Pro Tools session. And we're working on full round trip, where the that was your question? Being able to go back and take the PTX file from Pro Tools and open it back up in Media Composer. So hopefully we'll see that soon. All right, let's take a look at a few other things, because I do want to open up for some more questions. But we know that a lot of people have workflows, and we did a nice little presentation for the PGA on Tuesday night. And this was actually a really cool feature that I wanted to highlight, is Avid has opened up to other partners. So workflows from other people for dailies, for review and approval, for notes and things like that, is the Panel SDK. So if you have a partner or somebody who you want to work with, they can actually develop and have a panel inside of Media Composer, so you don't have to keep going outside of the application to do things. So we have two companies that I can show you. The first one is Moxion from Autodesk. So under Tools, you'll see Moxion as a selection here. The Moxion panel comes up inside of Media Composer. And now, depending on my login and how I'm set up, I'll have access to the media inside the windows right here. So let's go and take a look at, let's see, I have some royalty-free shots here. Because this is within Media Composer, I would be able to open up a bin and drag and drop from the panel into my bin to bring it into my project. I wouldn't have to go out of the application, make a folder, take it into a drive, and then bring it over. It's done within the application. Yes? As far as linking or not, I don't believe so. I'm not going to try it because this does have to download the clip, and it's going to bring up a bar, and we're going to sit here and wait and take up time. But that's a good question. We can take a look at that afterwards. I don't know if it will, but the nice thing about this is we're relying on the manufacturers to do a lot of that development. To do that, we're just giving them the window into Media Composer. The other application that I can show you at this point is Pix from X2X. So if we take a look at the Pix webpage, you'll see here that I do have some media that is in Pix. Now this could be camera raw files that has a bunch of metadata. This could be clips that have notes. So these clips right here are from Ari. Here I have, some clips that are our footage that I put some notes on. But if I go into the panel inside of Media Composer with Pix right here, Pix allows us to do three things. Once I log in, Pix will let me create a bin. The cool thing about this is, again, we don't know what columns of metadata are required depending on the media that we're bringing in. And the assistant or anybody who's creating the bin is going to have to go in and manually create columns to be set up for the editorial. What Create Bin does is it looks at a clip. Let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to look at a source pick. I'm going to look at one of those Ari files. Come on. We are using KeyCode's Wi-Fi here. Here we are. So if everybody's on, please, few people shut off your... So we're going to take a look at the columns of metadata. These are the Ari files. And you'll see what happens on the bottom of the Pix window is it's actually showing me the metadata that's coming over from that file. Now I can go in and say create a bin name. We'll call it editor L1. Hit create bin. Here is my editor L1 bin, which is brought up. And you'll see as I open up that bin, all of those extra metadata columns are automatically built for me. Again, we're trying to streamline the process of working with that media. The other options available within the Pix window is syncing notes. So if there are comments from the Pix file, here I'll open up the clip right here. So these are comments that I made on this piece of media, but that was done on the Pix side. I can now go into the sync notes. So I choose the source file from Pix, which is right. Come on. Actually, we'll choose this file here. And then the target file, because this is within Media Composer, it's a panel, I can actually drag and drop the clip over here, and it brings in that referred file that I'm looking at. So I want the notes to come up on V1. I want the notes to be colored magenta. The notes are right here. I click Start Sync. And we now, when I load in that clip, we will see the magenta markers from that file. All right? Nice. I saw a lot of this. Good, good, good. And then lastly, the third thing that you'll be able to do with Pix, and again, we hope to see more development with this, is syncing metadata. So this is taking information from Media Composer and bringing it back to Pix. So metadata, let's say on this clip right here, you'll see that the tape ID is XX33, the comment is PGA3. I did this the other night. I'm actually going to change the tape ID to be KCM1, and I'm going to change the comment to be Editor's Lounge. All right? So now, when I go back to my metadata, the source file for Media Composer is right here. Drag and drop it. The target file back in Pix is right here. Select that. You'll see here in the bottom of the window, my metadata has changed to tape ID KCM1. Hit sync. And when I go back to Pix through the web page and take a look at that file, we'll see when I scroll down to take a look at it. Come on. The metadata, the tape ID has changed, and the comment has changed. So again, we're opening it up to other applications and workflows. We have a bunch of partners that have signed up so far. A lot of people at our latest trade show were like, how do we get to be part of this? We want more people to open up because we know everybody has different workflows. So the panel SDK is really, really nice. And lastly, before I open up, and again, I could spend a lot of time doing this, but we are very limited. I will be here after the panel as well to answer questions, is showing you something else new that is coming up called Avid Huddle. We showed this at IBC recently and also at NAB in its beginning stages. It's not out yet, but imagine you're sitting in the edit bay, the editor's sitting there, and they want to share the output of Media Composer to somebody else, but they're cross-country, or they're in a park, and they don't have access to a system, but they have their phone. What we're doing is we're using Microsoft Teams to log in to Media Composer and using SRT, Secure Reliable Transport, from Media Composer to send the output across Teams. So what I'll do here, let me go ahead and launch Teams to get started. I'm launching into my Teams application. Hello. We'll join that. All right. And now let me go ahead and load this sequence right here. And I'm going to launch Avid Huddle. Again, this is a preview. This isn't out yet. We want to show people what we are doing because, again, it's a great application. Imagine the time that's saving from exporting a file, sending a link out, getting a whole bunch of different notes, looking at all that independently, waiting for feedback from somebody. You can actually do it while you're in a team session. We'll log into the system. Did I spell it? Maybe it's wrong password. Nope. Cap locks. There we go. So I'm logging in to Teams. I'm enabling Avid Huddle. And then when I launch into Teams and start a session, I can start sharing the output of Media Composer. So I'm going to turn on SRT, which is part of the timeline. I'm going to enable it, and let's first see if we're getting the information out of the system. So right now it's just me in the session. Whoa. And it's playing out. Here I am. It's playing out of Media Composer in this window. But I'm going to invite some friends who are currently here in the audience from Avid. So I'm going to go to people here. Let's go ahead, and I think Sarah is here, Sarah Priestnall. Request to join. We have Joe Vandenberg. Have him. So basically, Teams is now going out and calling them on their phones. And make sure you mute your phone, but turn on your camera so we can see where you are. So there's Joe, there's Sarah, and if I hit play, they'll be able to see what's being played out on my system on their phones. But what's also cool is the time code is right here, so I could stop on any frame, let's say right here. That's now what they're seeing, and we can have a little chat. You know, what do you think of this? You'll see Joe. All right, Joe. Now realize I could delete that, but I won't. But anyway, you'll see that he's actually making a comment from his phone and adding an annotation to the system here. And we could even go in and start drawing. So we could be talking, and I could say, all right, let's highlight this. Is this a good area here? We could do a little snapshot of that. But the idea is this is a live session that we are actually seeing and working with. And what's really cool is once we go in and, let me just move down a little bit. I'm going to add another comment myself. I like this. Need to be able to spell right. There we go. When I add that annotation is there. When I close out of the session, it's going to save a summary of those annotations that I can import back into Media Composer as markers. All right. So thank you, Sarah and Joe, for joining my session here. So stop sharing. And then again, Avid Huddle is just a really great way to be able to share. And this could be used for anybody. It could be, training departments or creative services or, again, editorial, just to be able to do that, all live at any time. And you could be in a team session and say, hey, why don't I just show you the cut? And you could launch into the session as well. So, question? The other side, does it have to be a Teams client? The answer is yes. So you will have to have Teams on there, but the license that is purchased is only for the person who's actually logging in and sending out the stream. So as long as Teams is available on everyone else's system, they'll be able to be part of the Avid Huddle session. Yes? Currently, this is only through Microsoft Teams. Yes? Is there any option or any update for make a virtual camera option? Not at this point, but again, this is a V1 of this. Who knows where it's going to go? But good suggestion. I think you know somebody who can help get that feature request in. But yes. The question was, when you select which markers you want to import from the Avid Huddle session, Currently, it actually exports all of the notes, the annotations, and they're all brought in when you do an import. Just as if you were, taking an XML or something from an application and bringing it in as markers. And it brings in the time code as well, yes. So you would, in the corner, the actual sequence time code is running, so it does have a total time accurate stamp on the comments. I'm sorry? Do we do time code ranges? More of just an instance of that. Are you waving at me or? Oh, sorry. Is it a question? Oh, plenty of questions. Did you have a question? Was it an online question? Caller, you're on the air.
Happens within Teams huddle. He's wondering about just security.
Is there secure? I'm sorry?
Aaron Crosby is asking, is there a different encoding encryption that happens with Teams huddle? Maybe it's not security related.
Is there a different? I'm not sure.
Okay. And then I guess this is going to go back a little bit, but regarding the PICs, Eric Crosby was asking, does this support the secure viewing with embedded IP address client/viewer names? Then another question about, can the PICs markers be matched against an Avid sequence instead of a clip? Sorry, that was a loaded question.
It's a lot of questions.
Yeah,
Eric.
a lot of questions.
Probably have to break that down a little bit. The markers question was?
The PICs marker example that you showed, can it be matched against an Avid sequence instead of the clip?
Well, it actually would be imported to as far as which way. So yeah, if it's basically PICs is looking at the source clip, so that's the information that is being taken onto the source clip itself in Media Composer. So it's not by sequence.
Great.
Not at this point, but again, this is part of the application that PICs would have to work on. If it's something that they implement, then it's possible. But right now, the implementation from PICs are those three things that can be done. Yes? The question was, the resolution of huddle is SRT, so whatever is compressed through SRT. I don't know what the actual format is. Is that H.264 or I don't, because it's not selectable. It's just whatever's playing out through SRT in Avid. And I'm sorry, the other question? The advantages of using Frame.io, I think depending on that, Frame.io is another application that you would be going out to. So again, this is built into the Media Composer software, so it's live in the application. Right, no exporting required. And all you do is play. And the cool thing is, if there's ever a point that you're like, hey, let's just take a look at this trim, they could look, you're seeing it live. And even though you are making comments, it's funny because even when we're doing a lot of these sessions, everyone thinks, oh, I can just type in notes. It's like, well, what say? You're live on Teams. We can actually talk this out. But the good thing about the note is, while you're talking it out, you can say, all right, we'll make a note of that and make sure that's in the timeline, so at least I have a reference to what's going there. So I'm going to keep on looking on this side. I know there's a question. So I think the question was, if I'm repeating it right, you want to know if there's specs as far as playing or receiving the Avid Huddle stream. I think we actually take that into consideration through SRT, and that's where it gets all resolved. So I don't think there's an issue at this point with that. There will be, you might notice while I was playing, there might be a delay on what I'm seeing here to what somebody is seeing on their on their device, but the thing is the audio's in sync on their end. So even though it might be looking off here, it would be in sync. So if I had an interview with somebody talking, they wouldn't have any issues on their side. Well, right. I mean, I think currently you would have to do that if I was playing off of this. So yeah, it's one of those things where even here I was saying, turn off your mics because we get all the background noise here that I'm hearing here. So yeah, you do want to take that into consideration. But good question. Yes. The version of Pro Tools that's required, depending on if you want, the question was what version of Pro Tools, I'm just saying for everyone. What version of Pro Tools is required for the Media Composer compatibility? I believe the .12 release, Christopher, I don't know where he is. Christopher? Oh, there he is. .12 is the one that actually allows for the comments to be seen inside of Pro Tools. Yep. So any other questions? Yes. How accurate is the transcription? Extremely. I mean, and I would say the good thing is in .8 that we just released in August, it's a tech preview because we want people to try it out to let us know what the feedback is on accuracy. And it's been really good. I mean, even a lot of the transcription of the interviews, I was off camera and you could hardly hear what I was saying and it picked it up really well. At IBC in Amsterdam, I actually had a gentleman come up because, again, we support 21 languages. And he said, what about Norwegian? And I said, bring me a clip. So the next day, he actually brought me a clip. We put it in there. We did the create transcript. And he was like, pretty good. He says it's not exact, but the amount that it did get was really, really good. With all the languages, is there a plan to have translation? Is there a plan? Yes, there's a plan. When that happens will be something, but again, this is just, again, opening up so much that we'll be able to do with the whole transcription part. And again, with this beta, this is the first time I actually just saw the exporting the transcript, which was pretty great to see. Yes? I might have to ask you to, I keep hearing it because I hear a lot of noise out. So text correction as far as changing the actual text itself. I mean, what you can do, and this is something that's been inside of Media Composer for a while, is if you do have any sort of change you need to make to the script itself or transcript, there is a button at the top that is the text edit button. So you could go in and do any change manually to that if, the word is a little off or something. And then that'll save back to the transcript or the script. Excuse me? It would not re-recognize words. If there was something that maybe they reset or you cut back in or, maybe you did a little modification, you would have to do another create script from that in order to get the update. Yes? Oh, interesting. Is Avid looking beyond for bin locking across network servers? Yeah. I'm only, again, saying that to repeat. That's why I'm like, is that right? As far as I know, I don't believe so. But we'll make note of that. Yes, was that another question or same one? All right. Partners in crime there? Good. Awesome. One more question, I think. Yep. Okay, the question was, do you need a beefy computer in order to do the local transcription? The answer, I would say, is no. I think because, again, it does have to process initially. I think if you have a slower system, it might take a little longer for that to happen. But again, once it's done, it's just going to pop up each time. So, I mean, I've actually gone in and said, all right, I'm going to take all of the clips in this bin, and I'm going to, go to dinner or do it and come back tomorrow, and then it's done. Again, that's if you have like a massive amount of clips you want done. And your other question was, closed captioning. We'll do closed captioning. That is something we are looking at as a future option as well. Again, since we do the export transcript, we're hoping that will help move it to be subtitles as captioning. Yes? Can it do transcriptions based on a sequence? We are looking at that as well. I don't know. Yes. Is the transcription online or offline? You do not have to be connected to anything because it's not going to the internet or cloud for all of that at all. And you don't know, I think the question was also, you mentioned about language pack. There is no language pack required anymore for any of this. Was that a...
I just want to let everyone know there's a microphone right here.
I was wondering, we needed somebody to like be handing that around.
Poor Michael's like, what?
I know,
what?
like... Okay, one more question, and then I think we'll wrap. Okay. Can it, I mean, if you have it here when you're cutting from the script, it cuts to a sequence. Is that what you're asking? Mm-hmm. Oh, you're expecting the script to update. Right. Again, we are looking at some more development in that process. So potentially in the future. Again, it's opened up so many options to what this can do. And again, with the whole AI power and things that we're providing, we are going to see a lot of it change along that as well. Again, I know I said one more question. Feature request for more colors for markers. I will make a note of that. Oh. I mean, there are, make a note of that. KeyCode is definitely a partner that, if you have more questions or feature requests, they have a lot of people here who can help you. Thank you, Tony. Again, Media Composer, very beefy. I could spend hours going over things. We have a lot of tutorials online to help you as well. A lot of great resources. There are some other colleagues here from Avid as well to answer any questions that you may have. I'll be here later. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And at this point, I'd like to introduce Jeff from KeyCode, who will moderate the panel.
They're supposed to roll a video. There we go. Wow. That was great. All right, good evening, everybody. First of all, thanks to our sponsors tonight, KeyCode Media, KeyCode Education, Avid Periphery. First off, we're done with the strike business, so everybody take a nice deep breath and let it out. Doesn't that feel nice? Feels better with that out of the way. So we're in Editor's Lounge. And today we're talking skills, education, storytelling, workflow, and whatever else might just pop up for editors. Let's intro the panel. Lauren is the creative director of a female-founded full-service production and post-production house, Treasure Trove. Some of her credits include Love Island, American Idol, and Legendary. Randy Migalski. Full disclosure, I've known Randy for years.
A lot of years.
A lot of years. We won't say how long. He's senior editor and colorist, working previously for the Post Group, Chainsaw, Encore, and now over at the Saw. Some of Randy's credits as an online editor include Grammy Salute to the Beach Boys, the Oscars. You did eight days a week, right?
I did 8 days a week for Ron Howard.
For Ron Howard. And then Dexter.
Dexter, back in the day.
Back in the day. Awesome. And then last but not least, Michael, well established in the editing of the unscripted television world since her credits on Top Chef, currently lead editor for RuPaul's Drag Race, All Stars, and has an Emmy win for her work on the 2020 season. All right, it says we're going to roll promo videos here, but nobody sent any. Editors didn't send videos. Weird. Yeah. I would have had notes, so it makes sense. All right, every superhero has an origin story. Let's talk about how you became a professional editor. Did you learn tools like Avid on the job or in a classroom or videos online? We'll go down the line, and what's your origin story to becoming an editor? Start with you.
Is this working? Hello? I didn't wear the appropriate attire for my...
Shoot for the other side.
I'll just hold it too. My father was a wedding videographer and editor, and always had the latest and greatest video cameras and everything since I was very little. So I started editing when I was about 12 years old for him. Went to film school. They did not have an Avid at our film school. That film school is now shut down. So, but I had a professor that was incredible, and she gave me a crash course on Avid right when I graduated. Got a job as an AE, and then was promoted to junior editor, and just kind of took off from there.
Awesome sauce.
Thank you.
Randy, you had razor blades, right?
I did. It was a long time ago, yes. I was working for the government access channel for the city of Santa Ana, the lowest rung of possible on the professional video ranks. And when that ended in the late 80s, then I had an opportunity to go to Capitol Hill to work for one of the parties. They each have their own big, expensive facilities that do government ads, political ads. And so I lied, and I said that I had worked on a specific switcher, which was brand new at the time, which of course I hadn't. But they were enamored with the fact that I had experience on this because nobody did. So this is pre-internet days, so I had to have the manual FedExed from Grass Valley down to my house that I read on the plane to Washington, D.C. to try to figure out how to make it happen. So it's the classic fake it till you make it, and fortunately my faking skills were good enough. So that's really how I got started.
That sounds great. Lauren.
Well, my origin stories are, I never went to school. I didn't really even know much about editing. I wanted to be a director. I had a camera, but I didn't know much about filmmaking, and I got a job in production as a PA, and when I got to kind of play in everyone's role, I kind of saw what everyone did, and I was figuring out like what I could do. And I had a lead assistant editor ask if I was interested in Avid. And I was like, yeah. I had no idea really what that meant. And I was just willing to work 20 to 24 hours a day to figure it out. He actually, that entire show, did such a good job at training me, and it left me with wanting more, so that when I continued on, somebody on one of my shows asked me to deliver a rough cut. Like, you know, you're a young AE, why don't you get your teeth cut? So I spent probably 20 hours on cutting this rough cut for a scene. And he expected a paper cut without shots. And he was like, wow, you really delivered. This was great. And he asked if I was interested in editing. So I was like, yes, with everything in my heart and soul, I am so interested. And then I went around the room and I literally pulled every editor there, like, hey, how do I do this? Like, what do you think are the most important things that I could learn or know? And you know, it's kind of why I love being an editor and why I love editors is everyone's been so generous with information. You just have to ask. And that's led to, you know, kind of where I am today. But the imposter syndrome doesn't go away.
Yeah. Makes sense. I learned to cut on an RM440.
Whoa.
So, see, there's a couple of them out there, which is why I'm an engineer today. All right, let's get into skills. Obviously, being a good craft or a finishing editor is going to help you succeed. Good part of it, I'd say. What are the other skills, however, that have helped with your success that maybe didn't come from learning a piece of software or hardware? What would you tell an assistant editor trying to become an editor today, an editor who's trying to become a lead? Let's talk soft skills. Lauren, start with you.
So many things. Ask a lot of questions. Ask every single question, write it all down, and then figure out, like, the system. You know, when I was younger, or when I was starting out, I would try to figure out, like, from turning on the machine to grouping, like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And so that's kind of the way I still apply my learning of anything, is like, don't be too good to remember the fundamentals and how to incorporate them. And don't be scared to ask questions, even if there's 100. The other thing is don't be afraid to work really, 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 really hard. Like, overextend yourself. If you like something, go for it. What do you have to lose? Those are just basically the two things I have to say.
I'll go cynical.
What?
Identify the player, the baller around you. Don't waste your time on hitching your wagon to a wagon that's running in the same lane as you. You want to hitch your wagon to somebody who can drag you along with them further in your career. So read the room, find out who are the up-and-comers that are just a little bit, not too far above you, but a little bit above you, that you can ride their coattails. That would be my cynical view of how you can improve your lot in life.
Okay. Michael, what do you think?
I don't know if mine is slightly opposite than that, but I'm just nice. And producers really like working with me in the Bay, so it helps to be talented, but it also helps to have a really great attitude. And so nights can be really long, you can be tired, everybody's grumpy, nobody likes network notes. It's just keeping a good attitude about it all. So I haven't had to actively look for a job in a very long time because I have producers coming to me because I'm fun.
And I would hazard to say that if there is a couch in your edit bay for clients, part of your job description is therapist. All right, we are sponsored by KeyCode Education. They're a big advocate and provider of Avid education, among other systems. Can you tell me how you first experienced the use of Composer, or maybe Express or Symphony, or Media Suite Pro? Anyone remember that one? Too far back, yeah, just me. And how you learned how to use it? Was it school? Was it on the job? Classes? Did you learn, with traditional methods, or watching as many videos as you could, drawing in from other people, or were you self-taught? That sort of stuff. And where do you spend your time learning new things now? We talked a little bit about this, while other people were talking a little too loudly. We apologize. Randy, we'll start with you on that one.
It used to be that it was hard to find the resources. to better yourself. Now it's pretty easy. I can find any number of 13-year-old pimply-faced kids who are way smarter than I am on one specific angle or another. So I get to know who those people are, and I know, I mean, now my quest is more resolve focused at the moment. I feel pretty confident on Avid. And so you look through a few tutorials and you get to know who are the ones that are respectful of your time, that don't want to tell cat stories and take 30 minutes to give you the 38 seconds of nuggets that help you. So you get to know those tutorial content creators that give you something. I know that I'm going to have to wade through hours of crap to find those little nuggets, and hopefully those nuggets are worth wading through those hours of crap. And so I think my biggest challenge is to whittle down the field so I don't waste time on looking at content creator X when content creators Y and Z are far more succinct, you know, a 5-Minute Friday kind of vibe. That's more what I care about. I have very specific in the weeds needs of how to do stuff. So I just want those little nuggets. At the same time, on the flip side, I do like the deep dives of going in and replicating what somebody did in a 48-minute tutorial. And it'll take me 5 hours to do that because I'm going to have to keep stopping and rewatching and rewatching and rewatching. But there's tremendous value in not just saying, oh, I get what they're saying, but actually doing it to the nth degree, because it's that last 5% that you don't want to spend the next hour figuring out this tiny little nuance, but it's that little nuance that makes you employable.
Sounds like an editor.
I live for minutia.
Michael.
Maybe it was. The question again? I got lost.
Oh, how did
Where'd we
you learn and composer specifically, but other things as well?
Obviously not in college. I used many different editing systems, but just not Avid. I actually lied as well to get my first job, and I said that I knew Avid, even though I didn't. And then I had the manual under my desk, and thankfully I was a night editor or night AE, so I would just research when I didn't know something, and the other night AE was awesome, so I asked her questions. But I would say the bulk of what I learn is on the job, and I always say I learn something new every day because I learned a lot of new stuff tonight. It's pretty cool. And then I also have a group chat with some editors that are all bonkers, and if I'm trying to do something, I just text them, and they're like, well, try this. And one of them's very snarky and no help at all, but the other ones are great. And so, yeah, you just kind of learn as you go. And on Drag Race, thankfully, I can be very creative, so I learn by accident sometimes, just trying to do something silly and ridiculous and teach myself something new.
Awesome. Lauren.
I learned Avid on the job, and that's the first platform I kind of ever have learned anything on. And it took me up until about 5 years ago to learn Premiere. And now I know some Resolve also. But I would copy other editors' work. So the way that I really learned was I would stay a lot later and I would take sequences I really liked, and then the scene work I was given, and if it matched tonally, pretty much shot for shot, I would match So I would extend according to the footage, the footage that I had. I would extend the scene or extend the shots, but it was basically shot for shot. And I did that for the first 5 years of my career. So I feel like it really taught me so much. It taught me so much more than anything else I could have ever learned. And then from there, it was like a study, a case study. So I'd watch a film, or I'd watch a music video, I'd watch Instagram videos, and then it wasn't until 2021 I started watching YouTube videos to try to achieve a music video thing that I was trying to do, even if I never used it, just because I wanted to stay relevant. So that's my experience.
Very cool. All right, the craft. How has the craft of editing evolved since you got into this crazy hide in this dark room business? Do you find the software, hardware easier to use? How have you seen workflow and tool sets improve over your time in the chair? And what parts of those are effects from outside of the post world?
Okay, it's loaded.
Very loaded.
It's evolved quite a bit. I mean, one thing that's sort of crazy is having story producers on the Avid, so our string outs are much better. We used to have paper string outs and then punch in a time code and punch in a time code and lay it all out. Script sync is enormously helpful, especially with reality and all of the interviews that we have to go through. And if I'm looking for a specific sounding butt, I can just get it myself instead of asking a story producer to find me 7 butts. That sounds very weird, but it's a real thing. Yeah, and then, not sort of industry related was COVID changed everything. I work from home now. I never worked from home before. And I have 3 young kids, so it actually is awesome to work from home. I don't have that am I a good mom? Or, I see them too much now. So,
go to the office.
every once in a while. But yeah, they've proved that they could, and now they just keep doing it. And I love that. So.
Awesome. So finding the right butt.
So I think having a good grasp of the big picture, not just what you do or want to do, but what the other steps in the process are and how what you do impacts those steps. I can't tell you how many times I see editors who suck. They are offline editors that they clearly have never onlined or finished or delivered a program, because if they did, they wouldn't have turned it over that way to me. And so maybe they're the bosses who hired them, maybe they know, maybe they don't, that if they're paying them X amount per day or per week, they're really paying them X plus because they're paying me hours to fix or massage what's been done very poorly. So to the extent that you can be a true professional and have things polished, a really awesome offline editor, Timothy Schultz, he had the most awesome quote one time. We were having a debate about he was offlining something and he was spending what I viewed as kind of an inordinate amount of time massaging the temp green screen that's going to be redone by visual effects down the line anyways. And I was saying, well, why are you taking that much time doing that? And he said, because I don't want to ask my producers or network executives, whoever I'm sending this to, I don't want to ask them if this is good. I want to tell them it's good. And I really agree with that philosophy. Now, you do have to straddle that line of, is it worth 4 hours to invest here when you have a lot of other fish to fry? That's a balancing act that you have to strike. But the point is, if you do something that's kind of half-assed without understanding the repercussions of how, the incompletedness of what you did and passing it along, how that impacts things, you will definitely ingratiate yourself to those who might hire you later if you are far more polished.
Yes. Wow.
I actually very much so agree with you. And to add on to that, when I started, I was hauling, this was 2005, I was hauling drives and sticking them into the Unity, and they were 50 gigs. And, we were digitizing and now we're ingesting. And, some of this some of the vocabulary changes are unnecessary, really. But when I started, we had to do audio passes as assistant editors. I can't think of an assistant editor today that has to do an audio pass. I can't think of a cut today where I ask an assistant editor to, hey, do you want to stick around or do you want to do a cut? And then I can give you some tips. None of that exists anymore. And maybe that's just my experience, but I haven't experienced the way that it was when I was coming up. All of that stuff was really foundational. I feel like when I was an assistant editor, that really set the stage for me to become an editor. How to duck audio, things that you would never even really think about, especially if you're not a musical person. Maybe you have a great sense of storytelling, but your cadence is weird. I really believe that you can learn that stuff. That's also really helped and informed me as an editor is I play different instruments. And that was something that someone once told me that gave me a little bit of confidence to be an editor was if you can write a song, you can figure this out. And, for such a good portion of my career too, it was very musical. I was cutting things to music. And now I definitely I like to cut things dry and my music just enhances the things. But yeah, So much has changed. And then it was like big and bulky and like took forever to do things. And now it's like there's so many options and it's so fast. It's so easy to get so sloppy and then to lose everything. So there I am.
I also agree with the whole understanding the entire process. I mean, I've sat on the couch behind you before. And I've sat in the couch behind colorists and behind offline editors. You're just hanging out there. You know, you look like you're working, but you're actually, you know, kind of seeing what they do. It's gotten to the point where sometimes I'll be watching a special off Netflix and I'm like, oh, I know who cut this. And you stop, you pop to the end, you watch the credits, like, yep, nailed it. Because you understand their cadence and how they're doing it. And then you have a complete understanding of that process stem to stern, like how it comes back from color, because that's always important. All right. Obviously, Avid, yeah, they're a sponsor for our event this evening. You all do use Media Composer. How has your relationship with Avid products been? I'll be here all night. Sorry. Let's talk version. Are you using the latest and greatest? We saw a show of hands earlier. And how did you transition from the classic to the new? How did your transition from classic to new work out for you? What were your worries? Were you brought kicking and screaming? And what of those worries turned out to be boogeymen? Michael, let's start with you.
I am not on the latest and greatest, but my boss is going to hear about it on Monday. I'm still on the 18 version, I guess, and I really love that, but I have used the 19 version on a Netflix show that I did, and it felt very disorienting at first, but you do kind of figure it out, and that snarky group of editors helped a lot to get me through that. But I think the hardest thing, which sounds so silly, was when caps lock went away for audio scrubbing, because I use that constantly. But I actually like that you can map it to a key now, because then when I switch to my text messages, I'm not yelling at everybody that I'm talking to. So that was nice. Yeah.
Not yelling, she's just Randy, what do you think?
I am on 2023.8.2, the latest, and I love it. So it did take a couple of weeks until I became fully invested in the new layout. There is a little bug in the current version, so I'm running on Mac Ultra Studio, and it's actually more stable to run it in Classic View, which I have then configured to be like the new version. So it's a little bit weird, but that's how much I like the new version. The dockability, the customizability is fantastic. So I would encourage you to be on the latest version, if only because it allows you to avail yourself of the latest tools that are not available to you on the older codecs, which do come into play more and more and more. But also, a lot of it goes to perception. A lot of my job as a finishing editor is to inspire confidence. And so to the extent that I put on the dog and pony show that, oh yeah, Randy will take care of it. He's got it. I have 100% confidence. And if I'm on a version that is the latest and greatest, that I think speaks to that, okay, he's not an older guy. Sadly, that is a concern of mine. I'm still relevant, hip, current, cutting edge, and being on the latest version, I think, speaks to that at least a little bit.
I'm proud of Avid for all of these new features. I've used every version of Avid from 2005 to today. So I had some we used the new version of the Nexus, and I don't think this current, but 23.8.1, I think it is, did not go very well on the show I was on, to be honest. And I didn't get to, once some of those bugs had been figured out, we didn't get to use a lot of the features that they now offer, which, you know, I'm rooting for Avid. Avid is the most stable, tried and true, like, it feels like an adult platform against the others. Like, Avid is just really clean. It's really stable. I love that you have MXF files in a folder somewhere, and then you get to you get to alter your project. It's not like you're committed to the Finder and then it's like a shell, I don't know. So having said that, whenever I go back to 2018, because people prefer that, that's like a first language almost. And then when I go back to 2023, it takes a second because the interface is different. So it just takes a little bit of adjustment, but I actually really love it. I really love it. So keep going, Avid.
Awesome. And when I lit up the latest version of Media Composer with the classic interface, the thing I said was, oh, thank God. Because clap if you were born after 1992. My first version of Avid was in 1992. So I have a lot of, there we go. That's a very polite way to put it. I can't learn new things. All right, speaking of new things and old things and current things, how do you see the post-production industry today? What are your concerns over the next 2 years? What software systems or software do you want to learn next? Start with Randy.
So I know Avid like the back of my hand. I unashamedly will say I am very guru-esque on Avid. However, there are some limitations. Specifically, as a finishing editor, in the world of HDR, Avid doesn't have the rich, complete, full feature set that Resolve has. So I have been learning Resolve and will continue to learn Resolve. And the challenge is in deciding for my clients, part of the reasons that they come to me is because they know I'm going to steer them right. They don't necessarily, in this day and age, care about the buzzword. Are you on Avid? Are you on Resolve? Are you on Premiere? That's not really what drives them. What drives them is what's going to get my show on the air, on time, under budget, or at least not too over budget. And I'm going to trust Randy to decide the best route. And sometimes that's all Avid. Sometimes that's all Resolve. Sometimes that's a little hybrid where I round trip into Resolve and back. Sometimes, I mean, there is no one answer fits all solution. And so I think in the same way that I was advocating for knowing the big picture, you don't necessarily have to be a Resolve or a Premiere expert, but if you want to be as employable as possible, you at least want to be able to talk the language of whoever you're talking with. And so if you can throw out the occasional buzzword that actually is meaningful as it relates to an Avid, Resolve, round-trip workflow coming back again, at least you sound knowledgeable. Okay, you're playing the dog and pony show, you're inspiring trust. And so I encourage you to learn those systems. There's a danger in spreading yourself too thin. You only have so much time, so much bandwidth to be able to learn something. So if I was going to learn how to edit something today, I would still learn Avid, because that is by far the greatest offline cutting tool. And online, except for the HDR angle, is still awfully robust. But I would encourage you to invest enough time in those other platforms so at least you're aware of their capabilities, of why you might choose to do something in there versus here, things of that nature.
Awesome. Lauren, what do you think?
The state of post right now, I think, so it's interesting. It's like before the strikes, there was the budget cut. And then right before that, we have ChatGPT. And all of these things are so layered. And moving super, super fast. Have had to learn how to round trip, how to do everything myself, I see this industry going in more of that direction where it's good and it's bad. It's like, as an editor, I know that already I'm gonna be able to score, color, make deliverables, everything myself. This is as an independent person. Like, whether I'm also a union editor, so there's limitations to what I can do within a union show, per se. But I know that, like, for all the non-union shows or anything independent, that I will be able to do that. And I should be able to do that. I want to be able to do that. So I think. But I think we have to. I think we have to survive. So it's really like, a matter of, it's kind of cool because as an editor, we do have a lot of control. Just don't tell a director that. But actually, if we're able to do all of that, like I feel pretty satisfied. And if it's, but like at what cost, I'm not quite sure, but I do think it's going that direction.
Michael, what do you think? State of the industry, what to learn next?
I'm going to stick with Avid. I love it. I've worked on it for years and years. I'm going to learn all this newfangled stuff. With reality, things are kind of different. I've always cut, scored, sound effects, all of that is on me, and then it just goes to an online editor after that. So yeah, knowing all the ins and outs of Avid, I think is really important for an offline editor. And knowing some of those fun effects and silly things that you can do within Avid to surprise people, make people laugh, especially, I think is really great. But as far as learning something new, I have 3 kids and a side job, so I don't think I'm going to be learning anything new very soon.
Side hustles are always fun. So this morning, into part of the afternoon, I was over at an esports summit in Studio City this morning. Redundancy department, it's kicked in. The thing that was interesting, they were talking about all these video games and all these kids doing all this cool stuff. The one thing I did not hear out of that entire time I was there were the words artificial intelligence. Really strange. So, with that, what?
It's cheating.
It might be. So, what do you think is going to be different about storytelling as an editor in 2 years or so? Are robots going to be telling the stories, or are we just going to be telling stories about robots? Is AI going to stop at metadata tasks? Michael, what do you thoughts on the robot revolution?
AI scares me a little bit, but at the same time, I think that there is such a huge component to what we do that AI could never do. Obviously, the script sync thing is incredible, but as I was watching that, I was thinking, you know, my loggers, when they're logging an interview, they will put laughs or is crying or things like that. And I didn't ask, but I don't know if it can do that. It would be great if it could, but that's just one of those things that a person has to give it, which thankfully maybe loggers aren't out of a job just yet. But I don't know that editors will ever have to worry about AI taking our jobs. I certainly hope not. It's very scary. The only fear is people above editors not noticing what is so much better about the human touch. But I still think storytelling will always be storytelling. Can you make someone laugh? Can you make someone cry? I don't know that computers can do that just yet.
I don't think they can. Emotional sentiment detection does exist today in AI. It can pull that out. Mm-hmm. Speaking of robots, Randy, how you doing?
So my take on it is that when fluid motion, Avid came out with fluid motion, to be able to create synthetic frames, to have this super slow-mo, wow, what an awesome storytelling technique to impart emotion into something that you couldn't before because it would be very steppy and stuttery and would take you out of the moment. That's not AI, but it's kind of the same thing. So I view AI as a set of tools that are either here or are coming that will allow you to tell a story in a better way. I don't think it's going to replace you. It's just going to give you more arrows in your quiver that you can use to tell your story more effectively. So I am actively learning AI tools so that I can be better armed to use them.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've been working with AI a lot. I actually personally love it. I get to go down the rabbit hole and like actually have somebody tell me something back, give me feedback. I've had it write things for me that are so incorrect, but like we correct it, and I spend hours doing it, and I'm happy to do it. I would have spent hours hitting, you know, the same amount of hours literally butting my head up against a wall. But like my will to do something or to tell a story is still that strong. So now I just can. And I know it's not perfect, so I don't really care. And that's the thing is like, are you an artist and do you care? You know, like, do you still want to be an artist anyway? Like, and do you still want to get paid to do your art? Because you still can. You know, it's just, is it a privilege or is it a right? And I think that that's kind of another, it's not like the crux of everything, but it's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. I want to get paid to do it, so I just want to like figure it all out. But I don't think it's all going to, I don't need it. If it's going to do everything for me, fine, let that day come, but it doesn't like move me forward personally to think like that. It moves me forward to think like, oh, these are cool tools.
I think one of the things to take off of that is, hey, I'll let AI go and hallucinate what it thinks. And now I have a different viewpoint to look at that I wouldn't necessarily have thought of, or I could just completely dismiss it. But it's something else it's another arrow for the quiver.
In the same way that when I started editing, I was editing on 3/4-inch tape. And then you would, if I wanted to make a change to it that rippled it, oh gosh, that's a big time commitment. Do I really want to explore this creative angle? Nah, it takes too long. Yeah. Avid comes along and, oh, let me try that. No, it didn't work. Okay, cool, no harm, no foul. AI is the same way. I think it just opens up fast ways of pursuing creative angles that may or may not pay off, but because the investment of time is so minimal that, why not? Roll the dice, give it a shot.
And if you're good at what you do and you're a good storyteller, like all of that matters, you know, like it doesn't get rid of that. It hasn't yet. And I can't see a day when it really will, because human error is part of being human, so.
Yeah, and things can also appear to be too perfect. Like that. No, this doesn't have the human touch. So one last question before we go to our audience, who will be walking up to the microphone. We're not doing what we did before. This is a community of people. So as you were coming up and as you're going on before, and you kind of hinted to some of this, Michael, what types of community have helped you in becoming the post-production professional you are today? Michael, we'll start with you.
Nice people. I think editors, even though we're cave people, we're actually relatively nice to each other, and I've never met an editor that was nasty answering a question, or that wasn't willing to help me grow as an editor. I feel like there just isn't that sort of competition spirit. I've helped several editors. One thing to note is that in reality, if you want to be an editor, don't be an AE, because all you're doing is technical stuff. So if you want to be an editor, be a script supervisor, a story producer. But I've helped a couple story producers go from story producing to editing, and I don't feel, afraid of that. I don't feel like they're going to take my job one day. I'm just very good, but they are too, and I think that there's just plenty of work out there, and so use your fellow editors as your community and let them lift you up, and when you need a job, send out that mass email, and it works.
And I've seen a lot of AEs move into finishing. It happens to be one of those tasks, because finishing can be a little more technical than storytelling. Lauren, what do you think? Community?
I've totally relied on other editors entirely. I mean, I went to the school of my professors were other editors, and so, to Michael's point, editors are nice and generative people, and the second that I ever feel competitive, I put my ego at the door, because it's like, I should absolutely give everybody the information that I have, because why the hell not? There is enough. We all need to work, we all need to do what we want to do, and we all need to get better. And that's how I did, so pay it forward. But if you want specific phone numbers, I can give those to you later.
I would say that
I'll give you Randy's.
The number one way I think maybe is by you giving. So I've always been very mentor oriented. I like that role, or at least hopefully people perceive me in that role, and I'm not too cocky about it. But I like giving my knowledge away, and I think that people catch on to that, and when you give, they give, and people tend not to be proprietary with their knowledge when you're not proprietary with your knowledge. Mm-hmm. So I encourage you to share freely, and to fall on your sword, your sword of ignorance. When you don't know something, don't I mean, although I'm a fake it till you make it guy, you know, don't be afraid to say, I have no idea what to do here. Can you help a brother out? And people will rush in to help a brother out. That's been my experience.
And I've been running communities since the turn of the century for editorial. So mailing lists and Facebook groups and that sort of stuff. And you know, there's a lot of stuff out there with social media. Like there was the post chat that was all over Twitter for a while, and I'm not sure if it's kind of migrated off after all of the changes there. But there is community out there that can be found online, and you can get lots of good information. You just have to sometimes wade through a little bit of snark. Because, you know, I saw a question that popped up a number of weeks ago. Someone said, oh, I got this error that says bad magic. And everybody's popping up with all these Harry Potter references. And guess who knows exactly what that means? Because I've been around forever. So I was able to say, yeah, your disk header and your footer don't match. It's an ancient Mac error that's been brought forward into Avid. It's still here. And then people are like, oh my God, someone actually knew. You'll find the answers out there. You just have to search for them. So speaking of answers, are there any questions that we would like to have answered from people that have stepped up to the microphone that Matt is now adjusting for a little bit of height?
Hello, testing. We good on the audience mic?
There we go.
All right. Okay. So online, we have a few questions coming in. First one's from Paul. Do you think is the mindset of editors today different from the past? It seems the ability to make changes instantly has made it too easy to make changes in storytelling rather than having to make a dub and start over like in the past. What do you guys think about that?
Yes, is the answer.
Next question.
The time compression to air has just, you know, it used to be you do a bunch of stuff here, a bunch of stuff, and it happens sort of in a linear progression. And now, because people can make changes at the last second, they do. So, you know, I have literally been cutting packages for Billboard Music Awards that is going to air in 6 minutes, and it's not done yet. And I've got to get it to the truck on a live show. Mm-hmm. And because they know they can. So you just have to get used to that pressure all coming at the end, and just kind of gear up for that. You're sharp when you have to be sharp, so be sharp.
All right, and then feel free if anyone wants to ask a question, you can stand behind me and go next. But yeah, so the next one's from Eric. How much is metadata useful to reduce the time? Is it really worth all that effort to log and catalog all those clips and everything?
Yes.
What has been your
Oh
experience?
God, yes.
Is metadata really worth it? Yeah.
I'm working on 2 documentaries. One of them, the director is a first-time filmmaker, and I'm recutting it. And he has about 5 terabytes worth of footage. I just found a current cut, for example, in a random folder called trailers. And his current cut was called, whatever the name is, copy 20 in trailers. And I was like, holy hell. So then I go through the clips, right? The clips are all named, like Man with a Bat 1, Man with a Bat 2. Then I have to go find the actual like tape name, which of course isn't logged. And then it turns out there's 2 other cameras that have been shooting this day that aren't grouped, that like all are shot on 3 different cameras that aren't running time code. Like the disaster mill is like unbelievable, but I was able to use a software that mines metadata. And it took a little bit of effort, but like I extracted every single thing I needed to turn over all of that information within Premiere. And then I sorted it all and I made a log, and thank God. I mean, I can't do anything about the time code, which sucks, but you know, that's just because I really wanted to group it.
That also brings up our friends from Periphery over there. They're talking about metadata. They do incredible things with figuring out your metadata, like stuff that you would never even think could be done. So have a chat with them.
Hi, I'm a film student. So my question was that I went to film school because when I was 12, I started editing on my computer, and I fell in love with it, and I thought that I could create my own movies, and that's what I wanted to do. And I just wanted to understand, like, what process you guys go through when you no longer like editing, because I feel like I've gotten to that point where, especially being in film school, being exposed to so many different avenues, that editing isn't as fun as it was before. And if you had any advice for that.
So what does float your boat?
Right now I really like cinematography, and I really like, I still like editing, but I'm moving more towards camera work.
And what about camera work excites you in a way that editing no longer does?
I think it's just the ability to capture moments, like physically being there to capture them. That was what made me fall in love with editing, was being able to put together those moments with the film that you created. But when I'm there, like filming myself, I feel like that's a totally different feeling, because you're there capturing it and like seeing it. And in my cinematography class, we get to set up a lot of scenes and everything, and I feel like that's just a totally different avenue from being, behind the computer.
So how many people here over their career have reinvented themselves?
Every day.
Just do it. Just find what makes you happy and just go for it.
I will say that I hit a wall within 10 years of my career. I never thought I would, where it's like, oh, I don't love this anymore, and it's a job. And then it was painful to sit still. There's so much I can say about that being part of my person. But when I love editing, there's nothing more that I love. And when I don't love editing, it's a really good job. So, do it, use whatever. If you have to edit, find a way to love it. It's like I've worked on some crap shows, and in order to sit there and to go through that footage, that means I have to find a way to get invested. So, if it's late at night and you're just getting into the zone, find that moment where you can get into the zone. That might not just happen during business hours, 9 to 5 or whatever, but find it.
And I would say, channel since you love capturing the images, it's not just about capturing, it's about how they are received, and that's editing. And so you have part of the equation, so maybe you can use that cinematography part of your brain to turn on the editing part of your brain to say, okay, I got something kind of cool, how do I make it really cool?
I would say too, don't forget that editing is incredibly creative. So sometimes it feels like, all right, point A to point B, point A to point B, but if you sort of take your humor back and take your creativity back, you're in a room by yourself, so try anything. Right? On Big Brother once, I added a fart sound effect to a crow pooping, and it made it to air. So, just do stupid stuff and make yourself laugh. And of course, there are going to be times where you don't like your job. There's any job, right? But I just find the creativity of editing is something I love so much. And also, if I'm on a job that I hate, it's usually over in a couple months, and then you start a new one, so.
Perfect, thank you guys.
Good luck.
You got it.
Hi, my name is Darian. I'm a film major at University of Laverne as well. My question is actually specifically for you, Michael. As someone who's seen every season, every episode of every franchise of Drag Race.
Same.
How do you say the experience has changed post-production wise based off of the first season you worked on, based on now All Stars 8, in terms of different viewers or things changing in the media and things like that?
I would say that generally the process is the same. One thing that has definitely changed is the cultural environment around drag, and so we have taken a much more serious approach to what we do. Obviously not too serious, it's still very goofy, but really spending time trying to save the world with drag a little bit. And that is one reason I love working on the shows, because I feel like I'm doing something good for the world. And so I would say that it has just gotten to be a little bit more than just drag queens entertaining people. It's really drag queens saving people.
I love that, thank you.
I have a question about the future in 3 years from now. Lauren, you said something interesting. You said, in union jobs, I'm doing this, but I have to finish. In other jobs, I have to complete it. You mentioned learn everything. When talking to clients, know a little bit about every aspect, because there are different tools. We have a unique, I'm with Keycode. Well, I'm a Keycode guy. We have episodic, we have reality, we do all that. But then I have major clients like Mr. Beast, who it is, I have to know everything. One editor, I want you to start the cut and finish it from end to end. Yeah. So my question to you, and I see trends, I've been here a long time, I see editors being required to do a lot more work than what they originally thought their job was going to be. I see in 3 years, in my perspective, that one person or two people are going to be expected to finish. What are your thoughts and what are your suggestions to Editor Lounge, and what should these kids, I'm an old person, what should these people learn? Because I see trends changing where you have to be able to do it all. Do you feel that's true, or do you think status quo? I'll let you
I think it's true. I've been trying to do it all forever. So it doesn't, that's kind of been the goal, and these tools kind of allow me to, and now I regret it. I think it's real, but like to all my colleagues, it's like, don't get stuck. Like, open your mind, you know, do more. It's painful because I know I feel like we're all gonna be squeezed a little bit more. And I don't wanna say like that anyone's gonna run anyone out of a job or anything like that, but if you've got other aspects to your creativity or to your, you know, to your editing or to your filmmaking, whatever it is, right, especially in post, right now is the time to like go there, to learn, to finish. I mean, you're an expert at so many things, and you're proof of like what it is to not be stuck and to keep growing and to keep learning and to keep being at the top of the game. So,
I love you.
No, we had a long talk at one point.
He's
but
stuck in wardrobe, though.
I didn't say anything about that. But I think it's really important, and especially like with something like, you know, Mr. Beast on YouTube, like you've got really a very specific, I mean, I have so many questions about what somebody like that would require and what he's willing to pay, you know, like what are we willing to do here?
My advice would be that to push yourself deliberately and intentionally out of your comfort zone. You might be really good at audio editing. So that's what you naturally want to do more of because you feel comfortable. You feel you get a little rush from it because you know you did it, you nailed it, and you're good at it. But you're not so great at color correcting or visual effects or whatever. So you tend to say, let me shove that off to somebody else because I'm going to suck at it. Force yourself to embrace that which scares you. Yeah.
I would also say just, I mean, it's a little bit the opposite, but what would a producer want more? A jack of all trades that does all of them mediocre, or do you want to hire an editor to edit and that person knows how to edit? And I don't know how to do anything else. I edit, I can compose, sure. The Drag Race has limited budget for effects, so I do have to do a lot of my own effects, but you just kind of come across it by accident and it works. I had to do green screen work, so you look it up, you know, but generally speaking, they trust me to edit, they know I can tell a story, and that's what they pay me for.
I think that depends on the environment in which you're working. So if you're in an environment where you have the luxury of having other departments specialize in their specialties, awesome. Yeah. But I think it's still in your best interest to at least have a passing knowledge of what those skill sets are.
And the thing is also, it could be that when that show is over, if you have even better than a passing knowledge, the next show you end up on, you may not have those departments, and you may have to do that stuff yourself. So, you know, knowledge is something that it's always worthwhile to go and get.
And as a jack of all trades, master of none, I take a lot of offense.
But
I'm very bad at most things,
but also remember, a lot of us live with imposter syndrome.
Yes.
The thing is, you're probably better than you think you are. I know y'all are better than you think you are.
Hi, I'm Marcelo, and I'm a huge believer of reinventing yourself. I've done this many, many times, and I'm going through a reinvention right now. I'm 56 and woke up in June and decided to quit the tech industry after 30 years in it and go into filmmaking. And I thought editing was going to be the thing for me, but I'm very, very technical, and I'm getting to the question real quick here. I love the technical part and problem solving and organization and all that stuff. And I experienced this weekend my first assist editing job, and I really liked it, and I liked it a lot more than the editing I'm doing. I registered at UCLA Extension for their post-production. And is it weird to like the assist editing more than the editing? And then can you make a career out of it? And then what is the path for a person that is really, really passionate about the technical aspects of it? I know we hear they're offering something like a post-production engineering, but I still want to be involved in sort of the creative side part of it. But I love the technical aspects. So if I make a career out of assist editing, make a good living, I mean, and then also, is there a path? It sounds like onlining, it seems like.
Absolutely, that would be the path. So my job is first and foremost, I'm a technician. I'm a welder that has to stick pieces together and make the seams look pretty. That's A. And then if I can offer something value add beyond that, that's a bonus. And I know many, many, many online finishing editors who they can't make creative decisions to save their lives, but they're awesome at what they do. To your point, Michael, that if you know one thing and you know it really freaking well, then you can have an awesome career doing that one thing. So I think that would be a logical progression for you. I think AE is a great starting point because you do learn a lot of the underpinnings of how things work, the behind the scenes, under the hood stuff, that if you don't know it, then 2 years later, you're going to be in a world of bewilderment and not know how to get out of that world.
And I know career, I don't even want to call, like, I know assistant editors that don't do editing at all, and they're the backbones to a lot of production companies. Jeff, are you a chief technologist here?
I am.
So, I mean, that's in the space. You know, it's a lot of troubleshooting, a lot of organization, a lot of knowing, a lot about technology and how networks work. So those are two different opportunities.
And the thing is, there's also differences for AEs based upon the genre of what you're dealing with. An AE in scripted is going to be doing a lot different stuff than an AE in a reality TV show. Because sometimes a reality TV show will show up and they'll be like, oh, we're doing the same thing we did last year. No, we're not. We're shooting on these other things, and here's your first camera card. Let's get this figured out. And then they walk away, and it's your job to make sure it gets in and it's grouped and makes sense for the editorial team. For a lot of people, they'd be like, oh my God, I don't know what to do with this. Other people are like, oh, this is the best thing ever. I get to figure out how I'm going to deal with this kind of footage. And then you become that expert. And it just, you can be an assistant editor for as long as that's making you happy.
That's exactly what happened this weekend, where they told me, oh, we're shooting Black Magic, and I got there, it was a red camera, and on Premiere, and then I'm like, okay, you don't have to sync sound. Oh, yeah, you have to sync sound, because we're giving you a sound now. I'm like, okay. I mean, I figured it out, and it turned out great, and the pressure kind of helped, actually.
So you learned about syncing, you learned about color space, and...
Well, I practiced, even though they told me they were going to do that, I practiced on some other stuff.
Nice, good.
Yeah. Living in the fire.
Stuff, being in the tech industry, stuff always goes wrong.
The producers weren't correct. Perfect.
Thank you.
Awesome. Ian.
Hello, gentlemen. Being that I've rode your two coattails for a while now, and experienced what we have recently in this industry, I was raised off of the whole idea that post-production, like, we take care of ourselves. Just like you know, Randy. We have to train ourselves to know online. We have to get past all the minutia of the Avid post-production event to know what's real in the facilities. And we're still the only place that doesn't have a union, like, for post-production. Everybody else has a union. We've just experienced things being post-production, and you two guys, where is it that your thoughts are that post-production now needs a union? With what we've been through and just experiencing, like, fallout from jobs, seeing what we have, and, like, yeah, if you don't know how to upload something to Netflix, that's not going to get there. So with everything that's gone on right now, like, post-production I've been in post-production for 20 years, and we don't have a real union. And so I'm just curious, where do you guys feel? Because I get it. I've been told my entire career, you got to take care of yourself, know what you do, be good at what you do. But no matter what that is, and that you could be the best you can do, like, you know, Randy, I'm good at telling stories. I'm the best at telling stories. Like, you've seen what I could do, you've seen what I could edit. But it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's the company that owns you that tells you what to do. So even though you know what you need to do, even though you know Avid, even though you know how to take all those third-party effects from Boris and to get it into the Resolve, that company's gonna lay you off. So it's like post-production at this point. We've been doing this all these years. How do you guys feel?
The one
It's
thing,
up to all just us. You gotta take care of yourself.
Yep. I'd say the one thing there is on the storytelling side, the craft editor side, they're union. It exists there. Not all of them, but there is a presence there, and where that tends to stop is when you get to finishing. So I've never seen, I haven't seen third-party companies other than studios that have.
Because I sit in finishing and I have to like sit with the editor or the director who's like, I don't like the way that feels. Can you make that feel better? All right, I'll make that feel better. I'm not going to reach out to the offline editor right now, and I'm going to make that feel better.
Totally, and that's what a good finishing editor does.
I know what the feel is, and I'm going to make that feel better right now for you, non-union. Yeah. Let's make that work, but working on union show.
I think that if I'm reading you correctly, you're praying and hoping that unionization will come to the world of finishing and post. And sadly, I think your dreams will not be fulfilled.
Just because, but it's like, why? After all this time, they're going to give it to the PAs?
There are finishing.
There are
we're all still expected to do this on our own.
There are some union finishing editors, definitely, but I think that is the exception and not the rule. And despite the pro-unionization movements that are happening today,
like we're all artistic still to this day.
I
we
think
have to be capitalistic and like, oh, we can't have a union facility that's post because no one wants to pay those prices. Because when you have a union facility that's a post-production, you have to pay more.
You do, but so I don't see that happening. That's my answer. I don't see that happening. However, I'm going to say because you have been in the industry for 20 years and you have a larger skill set than most people of somebody in your shoes has, that the fact that you're non-union can work for you, not against you, because you're not going to be constrained to only being able to do this and this. You can do all those other things as well.
We're getting all these kids and we're telling them like, it's a whole new, everything's changed. Like, I was a kid and I came into the industry and online told me union was not a thing. Post-production, union was not a thing. I was a PA in union. Or not, I was a PA in post-production. There was no unions then, but now there is. You could be a PA. It's all changed, so it's like, things are changing now, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're about to we're pretty close to overtime, so I think one more question.
Okay.
Probably the best question, well, not the best question of the night.
I'm ready for the best question of the
Well,
night.
it's your question, so it must be the best.
Michael, my daughter is a huge fan of your show, and when she found out you were here, she texted me like a million questions. But the one question is, and it's for the whole panel as well, what has been either your most favorite or your hardest thing you've ever had to edit?
Whoa.
8 days a week for you, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, that was, so 8 Days a Week was a Beatles documentary directed by Ron Howard that they had a deadline that was, because the footage was all archival and there's a whole lot of stuff that had to be done with it, that I had worked for a couple of weeks, and then the third week, I went in on Sunday morning at 11. I did not leave until Wednesday at 5 p.m. And that was a rough go. That was by far the longest single session I've ever had. That was difficult, but the single most challenging and yet weirdly rewarding thing was before the days of Avid Online, when it was linear online, there was a Don Mischer who just put out a book about being in the director's chair. I recommend it highly. He was directing this pilot for ABC called Don't Forget Your Toothbrush. And there was a gag where they had a guy dancing naked behind this semi-opaque screen. But you could see his nakedness flopping around, and that was part of the design of it. So my job before tracking software was to, by hand, put the smallest red dot on his penis so that it would pass S&P, but you don't want it too big because then it hides the comedy. So I spent 2 days following. So that was my most challenging session. But it turned out great. It was very funny.
You got to laugh tonight, too.
I think last year, I had an opportunity for Bravo Digital to executive produce this tongue-in-cheek series called Bravography, where we're doing like kind of true Hollywood story, kind of like with that kind of satirical humor about a Bravo celebrity. And so I got to write, direct, do the interviews. Like I did these fantastical shoots, and then I edited it all.
How long did that take you?
They were supposed to be 5 to 10 minute webisodes, and I was making actual episodes of television. It took me months. It was supposed to take weeks, but the notes, when you over deliver sometimes, I wouldn't sleep. I mean, I was working 7 days a week, and because it was my baby, like I just couldn't let it go, I narrated the thing. And I didn't want to, but they were like, oh, this is great. So I was stoked. So it was the most painful and the most rewarding thing that I've done.
RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars Season 7 All Winners is my absolute favorite thing that I have ever done. Just an incredible cast. The environment surrounding it was really to celebrate them rather than celebrate the drama. Several moments that I edited where I was just being really stupid and creative on TikTok were recognized, and one of them was, wow, the editors did some drugs and came to work today. And I didn't, but I was very proud of that comment. I mean, when the editors themselves are called out, and not in a bad way, you pat yourself on the back. So that whole season, absolutely incredible, the pride of my career so far, and it was also very difficult. And I had a similar time on Big Brother. We have to blur our own middle fingers and swear words and butt cracks, and one entire day was spent blurring butt cracks, and me and my story producer created a song about it, and we're just singing a song about blurring butt cracks for 12 hours, so that was fun.
Thank you.
There we go. Any more questions from, no? Perfect. All right.
All right.
Thanks to our panel for
Thank you for listening.
sitting down with us tonight. Awesome thoughts. And we will be definitely around after the meeting. And please see our sponsors, Periphery and Avid. And you're inside of Keycode Media, so we see you. Thanks everybody for attending tonight, and safe travels on your way home.
Thanks, everyone.